By the way, we already got news.
Harold?
Yeah. I'm not prepped for that at all, but
You're tuned in to the Awesemo NBA Strategy Show.
What is that?
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Tuesday, December 28th. I am Josh Engelman. I am joined by Adam Scher. We are brought to you by No House Advantage. We've got an 8-game NBA slate, at least for right now, in front of us. Tons to talk about. Yesterday's slate was interesting, to say the least. Could have used a little bit more out of Mason Plumlee in that second half, but alas, we did not get it. We just got the monster Vooch game. Before we start and do anything, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how was your Monday?
It was pretty shitty, man. A lot of really popular cheap plays. Not only put up good scores for value, but they scored more raw points than like guys that were $4,000 more expensive, and so that made life pretty difficult.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more. I ended up doing a little bit better than I was expecting when the night first started, but on to the next one. Just keep firing away those 1%ers, hoping that one of those 1%ers become the one that matters most, and then it just immediately changes my entire NBA season. Still got a couple more months to sweat that through. Otherwise, I'll probably have an ulcer and need therapy. So we've got 8 games today. That's a pretty full hour. I think we need to just dive in. If you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, let's go.
All righty. And we're starting it off with a truly gross one. The Milwaukee Bucks are 12-point favorites in Orlando, 216 total. Now, the Milwaukee side is easy, which also sort of makes this awful. Only Brook Lopez is out for the Bucks. We'll talk about Orlando's guys that are in or out when we get to Orlando. What do we do? He's 10% owned right now across both sites, 11-3 on FanDuel, 11-9 on DraftKings. What do we do with Giannis in a matchup where I don't know how Orlando stays in this game?
Yeah, I mean, he still looks really good. Like, he should absolutely destroy this team. The problem, there's 2 problems. One, Nikola Jokic is on the slate. And 2, this is the first game of the night. It's an island game. We know we're probably going to be waiting on news. Like, Giannis is clearly a good play. If he's low owned, he looks even better. But it's still, I think, pretty risky to go there because, for one, you have Jokic, but for 2, you have probably, like, you want as much flexibility as you can these days.
Yeah, it's the good news about Giannis is that he can play 28 minutes and still score 60 fantasy points and like not completely kill you. And if he's playing 28 minutes, he's probably part of the reason that they're nuking Orlando. I mean, Orlando's missing like 9 legitimate, well, as legitimate as Orlando gets NBA players, and filling it in with general slop. Luckily, we don't really have anything else that we want to be playing here for Milwaukee, at least not that I can tell. Drew Holiday feels like it's impossible to get to him at 9,500 on FanDuel, 9,200 on DraftKings. Chris Middleton's price is probably correct, which is not all that appealing on a day like today. We've got Dante DiVincenzo back, which is muddying the waters for the Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen minutes. Other than Giannis, I don't really want anything for Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't really see anything either. I mean, we had Cousins still start the last game with Portis off the bench. Don't know how much longer that will last, but it resulted in 17 minutes for Cousins, 22 for Portis. Holiday is certainly priced for Giannis to be out. Middleton, like you said, probably correctly priced, if not a little bit too expensive. But on this slate, that doesn't really get it done.
No, we're on the same page there. So oddly enough, Milwaukee's interesting. And the good thing about this is you're never upset that you get Giannis in a lineup. So even if you're getting to him, no matter what the situation is, it's still a Giannis lineup. That works for me. I'm happy that I don't have to get to more weird pieces against Orlando.
Yeah, and also, working against Giannis, I had mentioned Jokic. You also have LeBron James playing Houston.
Yeah, and Russell Westbrook playing Houston, which I think also still looks kind of interesting. Orlando, on the other hand, slightly different scenario than what we've got going for Milwaukee. No Cole Anthony. And by the way, who the hell knows if all of these guys are going to actually still be out by the time we get to lock. This could all just change. No Cole Anthony, no Jalen Suggs, no Mo Bamba, Isaac, Fultz, Ross, Okeke, MCW, Mulder, or more. Gravett is back for his second 10-day. Admiral Schofield is back for his second 10-day. Mo Wagner appears to be available, as is Iggy Brazdakis and BJ Johnson. So some of these pieces are easy. Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., Gary Harris. These are three guys that just play even when they are at relative full strength. Those guys are going to be getting their normal minutes. I think that RJ Hampton has become the most interesting piece, particularly on DraftKings, because he is 3,200, slightly different on FanDuel, where he is 5,300. Let's just talk about that for a second. But RJ Hampton, to me, is the clear best option from the DraftKings side of this one, to me, and ownership says it as well, 57%. What do you want to do with the rest of Orlando? And then just give me your thoughts on Hampton if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I see it as well. The rest of Orlando is pretty much priced where they should be. We know Franz Wagner takes on a bigger role offensively without Suggs or Cole Anthony, but he's also pretty expensive. Wendell Carter's priced up. Gary Harris at 5K is sort of whatever. Without Suggs or Anthony on the floor this year, Wagner's at 0.84 DraftKings points per minute, but he does have a 23.8% usage rate and an 18% assist percentage. Harris is at 0.81 DraftKings points per minute, but those guys just aren't going to stand out at that salary. Hampton does, though. 0.82 DraftKings points per minute, 21.5% usage rate, 27.8% assist percentage. That 0.82 fantasy points per minute is on 43% true shooting over 283 minutes played. So at 3,200 on DraftKings, Hampton looks fantastic. Came off the bench last game, but still ended up playing 32 minutes.
Yeah, that one looks easy to me. The rest is filler, like Wagner, Harris, Carter. If I get any bits of those guys, I think it's okay. You know, Wendell Carter, 7,100 on FanDuel, power forward center. Franz Wagner's price is relatively similar across FanDuel and DK. I don't love getting to these guys, but they still have to play 240 minutes. I don't know what we do with the rest of the people that play, but any of the guys that are going to get 30 plus or expect to get 30 plus, I'm okay with them showing up.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of interested in how many minutes Wagner ends up playing. Just Mo Wagner, just because he's a good fantasy producer at 3,100, but probably not something I really get too much.
Okay, that works
unless
for me.
He starts.
Anything else here for Orlando?
No, Hampton looks like the priority.
Yeah, agreed. Just for 3,200 DraftKings, 5,300 FanDuel. Just another one of those spots where things are just ridiculous.
Just average it out and make him a decent play everywhere.
Yeah. And keep your eye on this, because if you told me that 2 or 3 guys got ruled in for Orlando, I would completely believe it.
Yeah. We do know, though, that like Anthony is legit out. Suggs is legitimately out. But any of Bamba, Mulder, Okiki, Ross, I guess, could be back.
Right. All right. Washington Wizards, 6.5-point dogs in Miami. Lots of moving parts here. So Bradley Beal is questionable for COVID protocols. Also, I think that I saw yesterday that starting in mid-January, everyone that enters the arena in Washington needs to be vaccinated, which is about to become very interesting for Bradley Beal.
No, it doesn't affect the players.
What?
It's for fans.
Well, that obviously makes a ton of sense.
At least last I heard, the DC mandate was for fans, not players.
That is a preposterous thing to put together. Obviously, that makes no sense at all.
I mean, I get the players are tested every day.
Sure. But like, you know, it immediately looks weird on the surface when you say
the optics are horrible. They're like, you can't go in restaurants or anything except unless you're an NBA player, do whatever the fuck you want.
Right. So Beal is questionable here for today, regardless. I have him in. Rui Hachimura is questionable. And from what I've been seeing, like, I think he's about ready to be back. KCP is out. Thomas Bryant is out. Neto is out. Holiday is out. Anthony Gill out. And then as of 20 minutes ago, Montrezl Harrell is out, which is a very big piece of information. So let's start on the Washington side, where I don't have all of my updated info. 5,100 on FanDuel, 4,700 on DraftKings. This feels like a fantastic opportunity for Daniel Gafford.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, most of the season you've been getting 48 minutes split between Gafford and Harrell. Harrell hasn't missed a game yet this year, but we do have data from Gafford missing and Harrell playing, and Harrell just slid into a ton of minutes. You know, Harrell in those 3 games averaged 35.2 minutes per game. I'm not saying that we should just expect Gafford to play 35 minutes necessarily, but we did see, you know, when Gafford was out, we did see Harrell step up and play a lot of minutes as opposed to, maintaining his role, and then Washington filling in with smaller guys around them, I think it's likely that you at least see several more minutes for Gafford, even if it doesn't end up being 10 more.
Yeah, I gave him 28 right out of the gate.
That's
trying
about
to be, just trying to be like a quick update before I actually dug in. The status of Rui, I think, is pretty important to this, because if Rui is not in, I think we can just naturally see an extra minute or two for Gafford. I don't know how much they want to go to, Isaiah Todd or Bertans. I don't know who the other 5 is going to be in this scenario for Washington. But either way, no matter what we're really projecting Gafford for, you're projecting him for slightly more minutes, and he's just a better play now than he was earlier today. Is anything else a good play for Washington?
Not if Beal plays. If Beal plays, I don't really see anything outside of Gafford, and then maybe like hoping for Corey Kispert to have a good game or something like that. But if Beal's out, then Dinwiddie at 6,800 still looks pretty good.
Yeah, they've bumped Dinwiddie's price up to $6K now on FanDuel. He's not down at that $4,800 range that we had before. He did play 36 minutes on the 23rd and 34 minutes on the 26th. I don't know why. Maybe that's because Beal is out and KCP is out, and now we've got Neto out and Holiday out. If we think that Dinwiddie can get slightly more minutes, it starts to become a little bit more interesting. But even 6,800, there's not a lot of value to squeeze out of that price any longer.
It's also, I don't know what to take of that, because even earlier this year when Beal was out, they played Dinwiddie more minutes. And then as soon as Beal came back, he went back to his 30-minute cap. You'll remember a few weeks ago, they said they were going to start playing Dinwiddie more. That was not true. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe especially with, you still have Neto out, you still have Holiday out. It would make sense for him to play a bunch of minutes. But if Beal's in at 6,800, I don't really care. 34 minutes for Dinwiddie's not going to look that good anyway. It's if Beal is out that he starts to look good.
We're on the same page. I want to hit on this super chat from, I'm going to whiff on it because I feel like I know Brault is definitely the middle word. We're going to go with Alexander. The final name I'm just going to whiff on. So we're just going to go with Alexander. Nice super chat coming out of Canada with the Monopoly money. Got my first win yesterday in a $7.77 entry, $7.77 entry on FanDuel. Thanks, guys. Always watch the stream. Thank you, man. Congrats on the win. That's always awesome. I know how good that generally feels. So I'm glad you're watching. Glad you picked up the W. Watch yourself. I do. It's just been a while. It's been cold. It's been cold. Data looks good, so I can only be so mad, Yeah. That's what I'm telling myself, at least. Miami side. Very different here. A lot of moving parts. Some things that look incredible. We've got no Kyle Lowry, no Bam Adebayo, no Markieff Morris or Dwayne Dedmon. Questionable tag on PJ Tucker is oddly important for today. But right out of the gate, I think Jimmy Butler looks exceptional. 8,500 on FanDuel, pulling a ton of ownership. I think that's well warranted. He's about 20% owned on DraftKings. Happy to go there. Feels like, to me, Tyler Hero is getting underrepresented here. 6,200 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings, 10% owned on DK. I'm curious to get your thoughts. We've got Yurtseven at 5,400 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DraftKings. I mean, he's got to play, whether PJ Tucker is in or not, Yurtseven's got to play like a pretty sizable chunk of minutes, I think, just by default. I don't get the sense they want to run Udonis Haslem out there all that frequently. Let's start with Butler and Hero, though. How are you feeling about the two pay-up? Well, Hero's not even really a pay-up option. How are you feeling about the two best plays for Miami?
Yeah, I think they both look decent. Butler at 9,300, we know he produces at a high rate without Adebayo on the floor. This season, without Bam out there, Butler's played 284 minutes. He's averaged 1.39 DraftKings points per minute. Makes him look like a solid option at 9,300. Hero, point guard, shooting guard is nice. You can get him in a couple different positions. Only played 19 minutes last game, but that's not something that I expect to be a thing going forward. Oh, he, I think, got ejected. Looks like. Probably.
Pretty sure he got the gate.
Yeah. I mean, it says personal foul, turnover, tech. Only has one tech, but then he didn't play anymore, so I'm assuming.
Hero was tossed with less than a minute left in the period after receiving his second technical foul of the day.
Yeah. Okay, so then, yeah. Hero's likely to play 30 to like 32 minutes. 6,800 looks pretty good for him. And then Yurtseven just looks great. He's 4,800 at center. Obviously, it sucks when we have great center value because the position, the opportunity cost is just higher, but he played like 33 minutes last game. For the season, without Bam on the floor, 262 minutes, 1.08 DraftKings points per minute. The only real risk, I guess, would be that, like, with Harrell out, Washington plays small for their second half, and then, like, if Tucker is in, Miami matches it. But even then, at 4,800, let's say you get 24 minutes from your 7, it's not the end of the world. It's not ideal, but you're probably still fine. And if he does get to that 30-minute mark, you're probably going to need him.
Yeah, I've got him at 28 for right now, assuming PJ Tucker is in as well. I don't feel terribly comfortable with it, but like you said, a 24-minute year at 7 is still a good point per dollar play. It's not a disaster if that's the best that you could hope for.
If Tucker is in, I think it's pretty reasonable to just match your 7's minute projection to Gafford's.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Which would be 28 and 28. So
yep.
Calling it a day on that one. Anything else here? Vincent, Strus, Duncan Robinson? I don't really see anything else that pops a lot. PJ Tucker being out could help that a little bit, I guess.
Yes, it kind of depends on Tucker, but Strus has gotten more expensive at 5,400 anyway. Caleb Martin last game played 29 minutes. He is only 4K. That becomes kind of an interesting tournament piece just because he could certainly step into any of the minutes from these guys. Like, he can play multiple positions. He was ahead of most of them in the rotation prior to getting hurt or in COVID or whatever he was. So, like, it's not like it would be surprising if he stepped up and played more. So kind of interested in 4K Caleb Martin, especially if Tucker's out.
Anything else for Miami here?
Nope.
Schedule for the rest of the day. NFL strategy show coming up immediately after this at 11 a.m. We've got the Prize Picks college football show at 3. We've got the No House Advantage NBA show at 3:30. NBA Deeper Dive for Adam at 5. NBA Live Before Lock coming back at 6 o'clock. Free content for today. NBA ownership projections and NHL projections. Is today the first day NHL's back, or is that yesterday?
I don't know. I'm taking a break from NHL until COVID's done. I don't know enough to late swap in that sport.
Gotcha. But I thought you were the greatest NHL tout we had.
No, I'm the best NHL DFS player we have. It's different.
Okay, that's fair. Ooh, shots fired, Jake. Sorry about that.
Jake's actually having a really good year as far as I know. So
Yeah,
I'll take second best.
Okay, there we go. NHL projections are free today if you want to use the thing that is likely driving Jake's success and Adam's success for that matter. So we're moving it on. Game number 3. This is a little bit easier to talk about, at least on the Philly side. For the 76ers, they are 6.5-point favorites in Toronto, 211 total. Philly's got no Danny Green, no Shake Milton, no Andre Drummond. That's been pretty standard as of late. We'll dig into Toronto in a second. On the Philly side, lots of ownership coming in, depending on where you're looking. 24% to Tobias Harris on FanDuel, where he's 7,200. Slightly less coming in on DraftKings, where he's 9K. Embiid's 10 to 15% owned across both sites. Tyrese Maxey's 10% owned across both sites. They seem like the 3 best guys that you can get to here. The Harris price on FanDuel is just low. No priorities, but if you're getting to guys that play 34 minutes or more for the Sixers against a shorthanded Toronto team, I think that works.
Yeah, none of them are bad, but they're also expensive. I mean, 12-1 for Embiid on DraftKings, 9K for Harris. I don't really see much of anything that I expect to be getting to here.
Yeah, I don't think it's the Embiid. Like, Embiid's always someone that's shows up in your lineup. You don't care. That's fine.
Yeah, of course.
I'm generally slightly higher on Tyrese Maxey than everybody else. That's fine for me. Curry's super expensive for what he does. Thibault, I think, is worth a flyer, small forward, power forward, just given the minutes that he's played over the last 3 games. But you're really just hoping a couple corner threes go down and he has one of those outlier steal games. Not that he can't. I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be him. But it's just not really all that fun of a Philly side. And it is, I don't want to say that it's a fun Toronto side, but it's definitely a side that has some options. You ready for this? Have you looked at Toronto yet?
I mean, I played the other day, so I have a general idea of what they look like.
Well, obviously, we have no idea if any of these guys that are already out are going to be out. But no Van Vliet, Anunoby, Barnes, Achua, Dragic, Flynn, Bonga, David Johnson, Champagny. Q tags on Gary Trent and Pascal Siakam, and also Kem Birch, who is coming back from a knee injury and COVID. Sauce Castillo is off the injury report, as is Brandon Goodwin. I don't know what to read into the ownership projections here because they're not. I just don't know what our assumption is. Gary Trent is not going to be 5% owned if he's in, but he is questionable, so that makes sense. We have Svi at 3% owned. I think Svi's playing like 34 minutes today, potentially. So I like Trent. I like Svi. I like Tremont Waters potentially at 3,800 on DraftKings. Chris Boucher probably starting. I think one of the better options you're going to find today. Power forward, center eligible. I don't know what Yuta Watanabe is going to do, but he's 5,300. What do you like from Toronto right now?
I mean, right now, I think it's pretty tough to say because we have so many questionable pieces. Like, if Siakam plays, Boucher kind of looks pretty mediocre. DJ Wilson ends up not being a thing. If everybody is out and you get DJ Wilson back in the lineup, he looks good. Boucher looks better. If Trent is out, you're likely to get a ton of minutes for Mikhailuk and or Watanabe. If he's in, they probably still play a lot, but not enough for me to really want to roster Watanabe at 5,300 or Mikhailuk at 4,900. Same for Tremont Waters and Delano Banton. So I kind of just have no idea right now.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit aggressive here. I went to 8 guys. I have Trent in. I have Birch in. And I have Pascal Siakam in. And I was able to make an 8-man rotation. That they went to an 8-man rotation on the 26th. That included
they had, no. They had
Toro.
8 guys on the 26th.
Sure. I mean, it's not like Toronto doesn't run tight rotations to begin with. I don't think.
I was just saying that was not by choice.
No. I got you. Like some of those guys were Daniel Latoro and Juwan Morgan, guys that I don't necessarily think have to be on the floor today either way. So if those guys are in, like, I think Svi's playing 30 plus minutes. Just like, I don't want to say like no matter what, but I assume he's starting, even if those guys are in. Like, let's say that everybody that's questionable is in. Siakam starting, Trent starting for sure. Those two are like not up for debate.
Right.
What do we think the rest of the starting lineup is here? One of Boucher or Birch. Seems like it'd be Boucher just because Birch has been out with like an actual injury too.
Yeah. I think it would be Banton. So Banton, Trent, Siakam, probably Boucher, and then one of Watanabe or Mikhailuk.
Okay. But even at the same time, like, I think let's just say in that scenario, I think whoever doesn't start of the Svi Watanabe group is probably still playing like 28 minutes today. Probably. I don't get the sense that they're going to be trying to get to more of like the slop at the bottom that are fake players any longer if they don't have to.
Right.
So I mean, we need to wait on all of it, but I like a lot of Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I didn't see what they're priced on FanDuel, but like if you tell me Svi Mikhailuk's playing 28 minutes at 4,900, I don't really care.
He's 4,500 on FanDuel.
I still don't care that much, but
yeah, I went to 34 minutes on Svi and flip flopped from Watanabe. It could easily go the other direction there.
Yeah, if you tell me Watanabe's playing 32 minutes at 5,300, I don't really care about that either. Especially if he's playing a lot of those minutes alongside Pascal Siakam and Gary Trent.
Interesting. Okay. He is projected for the most ownership of anybody on Toronto right now. It's just fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, he had a massive game last time out, and he looks good if they're shorthanded again. But I mean, for the season, Watanabe's at 0.91 DraftKings points per minute, which is nice. But let's say he plays 33, 34 minutes at 5,300, you still need an above average game there, and playing more minutes alongside Siakam isn't likely to increase his rates.
This is going to be one of those that we just need more information on for the deeper dive in Live Before Lock. But if everybody's in, I think we're going to get some interesting plays that aren't pulling as much ownership as you would normally expect here for Toronto. I'm not sure that this Toronto side rebounds. I think we end up getting a lot of very interesting GPP options.
I think that it's going to be so. Like, if the guys are in, I think that it's going to be like low ownership on most Toronto guys, but still pretty high ceilings, given that we could potentially see 38 minutes from some of them.
Yeah.
If we have, if Siakam and Trent are out, then you're going to get more ownership, but also you can be more confident in those plays.
Yeah, like Siakam's 7,800 on FanDuel today. If he's in, that's a great price.
Yeah, he's 9,400 on DraftKings. So if he's in, I still don't really care.
And just center eligible.
Yeah, just center. How does that happen?
It makes no sense. No sense at all. Delano Banton is a power forward on FanDuel. He's a point guard on DraftKings.
I mean, DraftKings got it right, but it's still pretty insane. I
mean, I don't think either of them got it right. Of all the people that could have multi-position eligibility, it's the guy that handles the ball but is also 6'9" or whatever the hell.
Right. Yeah, he should definitely. If you're going to have multi-position eligibility for a million guys, Delano Banton probably should be one of them.
Yeah, He's sort of in like the LeBron point guard small forward mold more than anything else. But yeah, DK is more correct. Either way.
I will say though, and so I try not to complain about it too much when they just give guys one position. When they first switched to multi-position and they gave literally everybody two positions, I hated it so much. And so I do appreciate them trying to like cut some of the guys back. I don't really know that there's any rhyme or reason to how they assign positions or who gets two of them and who doesn't. But I do appreciate at least some effort going into like, I think it makes the game better when when there's limited MPE.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just that like they just don't seem to let it make any sense. Pascal Siakam being just center eligible is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Agreed.
It's almost as dumb as Paul Reed being a shooting guard.
Meanwhile, Chris Boucher has power forward eligibility.
Exactly. All right, let's move it on here. Lakers in Houston. 4.5-point favorites in Houston. So if you're ever curious as to why the Lakers suck so much, just take a look at that line. LeBron is in. No AD, Ariza, Nunn, Reeves, Rondo, or Bazemore. They gave Isaiah Thomas the boot. LeBron James is projected for 30% ownership across both sites. Talen Horton-Tucker is projected for 34% ownership on FanDuel, where he's 4,800. Russ and Monk are both around 12 on DraftKings. Good luck trying to figure out how many minutes Malik Monk is going to play today. Let's start with LeBron. How do you feel about the 30% ownership on FanDuel and DraftKings?
I think it's warranted. Like, he's playing really well. He appears to be healthy. He's put up really good numbers in the games that Davis missed. We're up to 7 games now this year where Westbrook has been active, LeBron's been active, and Davis has been inactive. LeBron's at 1.64 DraftKings points per minute, 33% usage rate, 33.5% assist percentage, averaging 37.5 minutes per game. He's playing Houston. He has only power forward eligibility on DraftKings now after being point guard and small forward the last time he played. But I think the ownership is warranted. The only thing that I would point out is that, you know, he's very good, but I don't think he should be getting like a ton more ownership than somebody like Giannis. Right now, he's getting nearly 3 times the ownership. So that is one spot where if you need a lower owned pay up option, I think Giannis makes sense. But if you've already gotten contrarian plays in your lineup, I think LeBron does look like the better option here.
How do you compare him to like Curry or, you know, Embiid on a day like today, or like Julius Randle at 10-5, I think is a pretty sizable step behind. You know, we could talk about those kinds of guys in a little bit. I think it's just easier to like not have 30% of LeBron and spread it out a little bit more.
I think he for sure looks better than Embiid because of the position and the price. Like you're paying $800 to get Embiid at center. Curry,
is that all that different than just power forward? I mean, like, obviously, like, I know that it is, but it's not as extreme as this could have been.
No. It could have been. And that is one thing that kind of makes me question the ownership. Like, on the previous slates, I could look at it and say, you know, well, I don't really love LeBron's ownership relative to some of the other stars, but at the same time, you can roster him at 5 different positions, so that makes sense. Now, you know, you're down to 3. It's still better than being at center, but it's not like you can just plug him in wherever you need him in your lineup. So that does make it, I think, a little bit more likely that I end up under the field. Okay. But yeah, I mean, comparing him to Curry, like I still think he looks better than Curry, but you do have obviously a very high ceiling on Curry as well. He's around the 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy, although the Warriors are also getting guys back. Or potentially getting guys back. So overall, I think LeBron looks good. It's just at that ownership, I think it kind of comes down to what the rest of your lineup looks like, because I wouldn't say that he's going under-owned.
Russ, 9,800 and 10-2 on FanDuel and DraftKings. I think he looks pretty solid, honestly. I don't like rostering him, but if anything's going to get you right, it's Houston's defense and the pace of this game.
Yeah, he's definitely taken the backseat to LeBron in the games without Davis this year. In those 7 games, only 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. His rates aren't really that great either. 28.7% usage rate, 28.2% assist percentage, 12.2% rebounding percentage. But it is a really, really good matchup against Houston. This is a team where, I mean, you could just easily see Westbrook go out and throw up a triple-double. So at relatively low ownership, makes some sense. You know, he's 12.9. He's saving you $1,100 off. He's 12.9% owned. He's saving you $1,100 off of LeBron. Looking at the boom bust tool right now for DraftKings, we have LeBron with a 28% chance of being optimal at 31% ownership, so that's fine. We have Westbrook, 14% chance of being optimal at about 14% ownership. So, you know, lower ownership, lower chance of success, but also a cheaper salary. So kind of just a decent play, I think.
What do we do with Malik Monk? Played a few minutes last time out.
Just a little bit. I don't know. I mean, there's still plenty of minutes available for him here. You still have a shorthanded team. You're not at risk of like Isaiah Thomas stealing minutes from him or anything. I think that expecting like 26 to 30 minutes somewhere in there is probably realistic. At 4,100, that makes him look decent, but not like a priority. He is getting about 13% ownership right now. I think he's got a high ceiling, but I also think the ownership is pretty much there.
What do you think about 34% owned Taylor Horton-Tucker on FanDuel? 4,800 shooting guard, small forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good price tag. He only played 30 minutes last game, but you certainly could see him play more. He wasn't in the closing lineup against the Nets, but if you told me he closed over any of Malik Monk, Stanley Johnson, or Carmelo Anthony, I would not be surprised at all. So I think that he looks good.
Yeah. I mean, I think he looks good. I don't necessarily agree with 34%, just because I don't think he's particularly all that good of a fantasy performer when he's out there with LeBron and Russ, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one. What do we do with the rest of LA? Do you go to Melo, 8.5% owned? Do you go to Stanley Johnson, who I think they're actually pretty happy to have at 3,500? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, and so, by the way, 6 games for Horton-Tucker without Davis and with LeBron, 0.69 DraftKings points per minute, 19% usage rate, 10% assist percentage, 30.5 minutes per game. As far as the other pieces, I do think they're kind of interesting just because they are relatively low owned. Like, we have Stanley Johnson projected for sub 1% ownership at 3,500. I don't think he's particularly likely to succeed. I don't think that he certainly doesn't have to play 27 minutes again. It would be not surprising at all if he isn't in the closing lineup this time. But if you're going to get 13% ownership going to Malik Monk and only 1% or so going to Stanley Johnson, that's a reasonable spot to just try and, take advantage of volatility in a good matchup. Same can be said for Melo. He had kind of just, even with guys out, not been playing a ton. And then last game, he got 38.5 minutes. He started the second half over Dwight Howard. Don't know what they'll do with the starting lineup here. I don't really have a good feel for that, but Howard didn't play at all in the second half. So if you're going to get, like if Melo starts, I think it's a signal you're getting 30 plus minutes from him, and it would make him look pretty good.
All righty. Anything else for the Lakers?
No, I mean, so it's basically LeBron's the priority. Westbrook looks good. Horton-Tucker's fine. The rest of it, I kind of want to know what the starting lineup is because that informs my opinion. Like Melo is fine if he comes off the bench, but he looks really good if he starts. Monk looks fine. Johnson looks okay. They're all pretty risky outside of LeBron.
All right. Well, let's go to the Houston side. This is simultaneously better and worse than it was yesterday. We have probable tags now on Kevin Porter and Jalen Green. We lost Jayshawn Tate and Kenyon Martin yesterday. We still don't have DJ Augustine and Garrison Matthews. We've got 20% ownership coming into Christian Wood on FanDuel because he continues to be lightly priced, 13 on DraftKings. David Nwaba is the highest owned guy on the DraftKings side at 25%, 3,400. Şengün we have at 26% ownership on FanDuel for reasons that I don't totally get. We could talk about that. At least I don't have to roster Josh Christopher. Same for you, I'm assuming, in this situation now. So what actually stands out for you for Houston if we do get, or since we are getting Porter and Green back?
Not a ton stands out. It's more so guys that, assuming they're low owned, they're kind of interesting to me in tournaments because this game should have a lot of fantasy production. Not the best players, but 2 teams that play really fast, 2 teams that do not defend. $3,400 David Nwaba still seems pretty interesting. Yeah. There's no guarantee for his playing time, but he's been very productive this year when he's on the floor, and he certainly could get mid-20s in minutes again. Jalen Green at 4,700. We know that he has shot really poorly this year, but there's still opportunities there for him. He's cheap. It's a good matchup. So there's nothing here I plan on prioritizing, but there are guys that I think have high ceilings given the pace of this game and the lack of defense that the Lakers play.
Yeah, it's just weird for the rest of it. I don't know. Am I missing something?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Right now we have Nwaba projected for 25% ownership. If that holds, I can find other plays, but I don't think it will hold. I'm guessing that we did something weird with like Kevin Porter Jr. or something.
I also think it's like, I don't want to say that it's warranted, but like he should be the highest owned guy on Houston, I think, if these guys are all in.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be in 1 out of every 4 lineups.
No. I'm with you there. I do think it's directionally accurate. Like to me, he was the guy that came out the most.
Yeah.
Am I missing something here? We have Şengün at 26% on FanDuel, 5,400 power forward center. That's just not right?
No.
Okay. Like he came out in 2% of my sims. I was just making sure, like, should we be looking into that Tice rotation or potentially lack thereof of Tice rotation and think that Şengün was just going to play more if it wasn't for fouls?
Well, I mean, I think he was going to play more, but yeah, I mean, I guess so. So the thinking, I guess, would be that you're still without Tate and Martin, but I still have a hard time thinking he was going to play a lot. I mean, he played 21 minutes. Yeah, he was in foul trouble, but I mean, I think it's still likely you get like 24, 25 minutes from him, which looks fine, but it's not. It shouldn't make him 26% owned or anything.
Okay. I'm happy we're on the same page there. I was making sure that I didn't miss anything where we should have assumed no Tice. Wouldn't be surprised to see Usman Garuba get a couple extra minutes today. Just throw an actual defensive body, big dude against LeBron and see how it works out. Interesting test case for him. I don't think it matters from a DFS perspective, but this is the kind of thing that you want Usman Garuba to do. Decent time to get those reps.
Yeah. Tice actually played alongside Şengün a little bit yesterday.
Fair enough.
In the second half.
Okay. Anything else here?
So I think what it was, I'm pretty convinced Tice was going to DNP yesterday, and then he played well once he came in for Şengün's foul trouble, so then he carved out a second half rotation.
Okay. Anything else for Houston?
Nope.
All righty. The presenting sponsor of this video for today is No House Advantage. You can go to No House Advantage to check them out. You're basically making a player prop card, but you're ranking them on a confidence interval. You can get a $25 instant match deposit bonus if you use the promo code Awesemo when you sign up. Should be a link in the description for you. The big prize pools, mass entry if you want. We have free No House Advantage and optimal lineup tools on Awesemo.com that could help you out. I'm going to pull up one or two props here for Adam, get his best thoughts. This is for the slam dunk at No House Advantage. Let's start with, this one's going to be pretty easy. I know what you're going to take. Everybody make sure you're listening here. Daniel Gafford, over under 11.5 points.
Probably over.
Yeah. Just feels safer to take the over now, considering that line was originally created with Montrezl Harrell being in.
I have him at 10.2 in 28 minutes.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe don't jam that one in as quick as you want to, okay? It's good that we're pulling this kind of stuff up, though. I think it helps out a lot. Let's go with who else could be interesting. Anybody else we haven't gotten to yet? Kevin Porter Jr., over under 14.5 points.
Under?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with the under there. I just don't know how much he's going to be out on the floor. I mean, this was an injury, so I gave him 24 minutes. I don't think they just run him out there and go crazy. So give me the under on Kevin Porter Jr.'s points. I'm with you on that one. Let's do one more here. Yeah, I really thought that Gafford one was going to pop a little bit more than it did. It's kind of a bummer. Your boy Rui, over under 15.5 points. Feels like you'd safely want to take the under, but who the hell knows what they're going to do with his minutes.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's playing a ton.
Jimmy Butler, you can go. He only has two options here. This is the final one we're going to look at. Over under 8.5 rebounds or 8.5 assists. I'll take the assist one.
Over or under?
Under.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. That'll work. So, yeah, check out No House Advantage. Use that promo code Awesemo. We'll help you out, guys. It's a good spot. Get the free money. Play their contests. Use our free tools. Now we go on. 4 games to go. We can move pretty quickly through at least one of these games. New York Knicks at the Minnesota Timberwolves. We certainly can't move quickly through the Minnesota Timberwolves. Knicks are 4.5 point favorites. I think Julius Randle for 8,700 on FanDuel looks solid. I think Kemba Walker for 6,900 on DraftKings looks solid. I probably don't want all that much of anything else from the Knicks.
Yep, pretty much how I see it as well. Kemba still looks good. Price tag is pretty slowly climbing. Played another 40 minutes last game. Didn't score a lot, but had the low triple double. If he's going to keep playing huge minutes, he's going to continue to look good as long as the price tag stays in this range. The rest of them on DraftKings are pretty overpriced.
I have no idea what that message is right now. Parker was the worst pick yesterday. He made me lose 7 lineups. Sorry, I'm off topic, but it was in y'all's top 5 or 6. Jabari Parker? there another Parker?
I read that too and had no idea what he was talking about because Jabari was the only one I could think of. And
no one was recommending Jabari. Jabari
Yeah,
Parker wasn't one of my top 5 or 6 plays on Boston.
Right. I was going to say, I don't know who had him in a top 5 or 6. I know it wasn't me.
No, it certainly wasn't me either. Anyway, I don't have anything else for the Knicks. Devontae Parker.
He's talking about football. Devontae Parker.
Yeah. Well, now I definitely don't care about that at all. Thanks for bringing your NFL events to the NBA show. You're going to want to watch the show at 11 o'clock for that take.
Well, I understand why you said off topic now. I was like, if somebody recommended Jabari Parker heavily yesterday, it would be very on topic. But
yes, it would. So Minnesota, we have no idea who's available for this team.
Hang on. So somebody said, is Kemba going to play? I thought they were benching him for possible trade purposes. That was like 3 weeks ago. He's back.
Yeah. Also, no one's trading for Kemba Walker. So let's have this conversation first.
Lakers
because I think
would probably give up Russ for
him. Maybe they wouldn't. So this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it's going to make any sense to you either, and I think this is fake. Everybody on Minnesota is listed as available on the injury report. Minnesota played last night. They should not and would not submit an actual injury report, and they're certainly not making available every single guy that they had that was out for COVID. So I don't think that we could read into this injury report at all. I think this is just an error. At which point, I'm just treating Minnesota like everybody that was available yesterday is still available today. Everybody that was out is out, except for Beverly. I put Beverly in for today. I don't know what else to do for this Minnesota team. We kind of know how to handle the rest of the guards. It's Nathan Knight season once again.
Yep, agreed. But yeah, assuming that injury report is not accurate, no reason not to go back to Knight. He is $100 less expensive on DraftKings than he was last night. That makes tons of sense. So, he played 29.2 minutes. He would have played a little bit more probably, but he went to the locker room with like 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. Greg Monroe played 25 minutes. He closed alongside Nathan Knight, basically. Played a lot alongside him in the fourth quarter. So knowing that they're willing to do that can make you feel even more confident in Knight's playing time. And then you also have a big Knicks front court as well. So, Nathan Knight, 3,200 looks fantastic.
By the way, no Greg Monroe in the DraftKings player pool. So great job getting around to that one after yesterday. Moron.
No, he's 4,500.
I'm the moron. He doesn't show up for me though. Does he? Yeah, is he like Gregory Monroe? And is that where I'm getting this wrong?
No, Greg Monroe. $1,300 more expensive than Nathan Knight.
They must have just he wasn't in the salary file to start the day. Like he's not in it for me right now. So they added him since 6 o'clock this morning. Fair enough. A little late on the turn there, DraftKings. I beat you to the punch. Great game out of Jalen Noel yesterday. That is a person that Greg Monroe did not know in his post-game interview. He was not aware of Jalen Noel heading into the game. Did not start, but I think he still looks pretty good at 3,800 here, as does a couple other guys from Minnesota, if this is going the way that we expect it to go. Fire up your Malik Beasley at 5% ownership. I don't think our ownership is correct. Obviously, we have Nathan Knight at no ownership, Malik Beasley at 4 or no ownership. I think we bid on these guys are available tags.
Yeah.
Save it for the deeper dive, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to do. I mean, if they are still extremely shorthanded, Beasley looks good. If Edwards is back, Beasley doesn't look good. If Beverly plays, he looks good. I don't really know what else to do with them right now.
Yeah, I agree. Play a lot of them, honestly. If it's what it was yesterday, play Jalen Noel and Jordan McLaughlin and Nathan Knight and Jaden McDaniels and Malik Beasley. Like, play them all. They're going to look good. Cleveland, 5.5 point favorites in New Orleans. On the Cleveland side, where is it? Q tag on Isaac Okoro. No Mobley, Allen, Chetty, Lamar Stevens, Dylan Windler, or Ed Davis. Highest owned guy in this game, 29% owned Darius Garland on FanDuel at 7,700. He's $2,200 more expensive on DraftKings. Highest owned guy on the DraftKings side, 23% owned Kevin Love at 6,700. Not sure I love that one. What do you like for Cleveland?
Rubio at 6,400 looks okay, I think. Like Markin and Love, Garland are always fine, but they don't really stand out to me. Denzel Valentine played 26 minutes last game. He's 3,500 on DraftKings. That looks decent. Nothing that I really like love here. Just kind of guys that I'm more than happy to get to round out lineups. It is a good matchup against New Orleans.
What about $3,300 Justin Anderson coming off of 31 minutes?
I mean, sure, it's still Justin Anderson. The dude's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I don't know if you prefer him to Denzel Valentine or not.
I prefer Valentine.
Okay. I prefer neither.
Well,
that's not the question. I get it. What do you think of that 23% ownership on Love? Feels high.
On FanDuel or DraftKings?
DraftKings.
Seems pretty high to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if the game's competitive, he is likely to play a good amount. He did start last game. So what did he do?
I mean, 18, 23, 23, 15, 24. Like, I know we're starting to get back into the Mobley games. I don't know how much he's going to be out there. Like, so I gave him 28 minutes, and I like 22% ownership. Seems crazy.
He played against Boston. He was going to play like 24 minutes off the bench. He started against Toronto, played 18 minutes. The game was a massive blowout. He never came back. In the first half, he played about 12 minutes. Like, I think 24 to 26 minutes is a reasonable estimate for Love, which makes him look decent, but not like somebody I would really want at 26%, especially at that salary. There's plenty of guys that you can find at lower ownership that give you the same range of outcomes.
Yeah. I would have liked to get to some Garland, but 29% at FanDuel. I mean, obviously the $7,700 price tag is exceptional. I really like the idea of getting to him, but that ownership is already there.
Yeah, and on DraftKings, he's 9,900.
Yeah, you could skip that one. On the Pelicans side, though, we've got a lot that got opened up. Doesn't look like we're going to be getting Brandon Ingram here. He is doubtful. Josh Hart is questionable. No Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Najee Marshall, Alvarado. Lozada's suspension is almost up, but it isn't yet. And then the big piece here, Joval is probable, and he is 7,700 on FanDuel. Looks good. 9,700 on DraftKings isn't even crazy. We've got Josh Hart, Herb Jones, Devontae Graham, and Garrett Temple all in like the 15-ish% ownership. You like getting to the Pelicans here? Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough spot for them. The Cavs are solid, but the front court shouldn't be nearly as good defensively as normal. They're a bit shorthanded. Valanciunas, like you said, very, very good FanDuel price. DraftKings still looks fine. He's played 7 games without Ingram this year. He's averaged 1.37 DraftKings points per minute in 33.1 minutes per game. So that looks very good. Josh Hart at 7,300 is getting pretty expensive, but should still play a lot of minutes and does still have a decent ceiling. And then there's more usage to go around as well for Devontae Graham. 7 games without Ingram, 22.1% usage rate, 31.4% assist percentage, 0.94 DraftKings points per minute. He's likely to play a little bit more without Alexander Walker as well, so that looks pretty good. But I think it's I think Valanciunas, Graham, Hart all look reasonable. Garrett Temple as a value option at 3,600 looks fine. Herbert Jones sucks from a fantasy standpoint, but is likely to play a nice chunk of minutes with Ingram out.
We got Temple at 39% ownership on FanDuel at 3,600. I hope that holds.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that you're not too worried about him scoring like 35 actual fantasy points.
If that's the piece that beats me, I'm willing to take it, but I will happily have none of a 39% owned Garrett Temple on an 8-game slate. And fire up the $7,700 Joval. You're not going to find too many times that's not a good price for you. All right, 2 to go. Denver at Golden State. Nuggets are 6.5 point dogs, 216 total. And it's sort of business as usual for Denver. Aaron Gordon is questionable, but everybody else that's generally available is available. Jokic is 10% owned on FanDuel at 11.6, 20% owned on DraftKings at 12.4. I would like to get over that 10% number on FanDuel just because that seems like a fun time, especially with no Draymond Green going for Golden State. Will Barton pulling a bunch of ownership on FanDuel, 24% at 5,400. He's 11% owned on DraftKings. What stands out most to you for Denver?
Jokic, as usual. FanDuel, it's tough. I mean, you mentioned that complete mispricing on Jonas Valanciunas. That does make it a little difficult to. It makes Jokic's relatively low ownership make sense. DraftKings, it'll be a little bit easier to get there. You know, he's expensive, but there's plenty of value on the slate. You can roster 2 centers. So I think, Jokic still is the guy that I would really like to pay up for if I can. It's not a good matchup in terms of Golden State being a very good team defensively, but Jokic is essentially matchup proof. It's a pace up spot for Denver. He still looks fantastic.
NBC Sports Edge just reported the all Timberwolves players listed as available. Could be an error.
Yeah, maybe.
Great. Yeah, great. Genius.
I mean, the giveaway was Towns.
The giveaway is everybody being available off of a back-to-back.
Yeah,
with an entire team on COVID protocols.
Right. Like so normally we don't even get that injury report until 1:30. Last night they were just like, game's over. All 18 guys that missed this game are good to go tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's the giveaway to me. Golden State side, we're getting Andrew Wiggins back in this one. We lost Draymond Green, not like in life, just to the COVID list.
Yeah.
Iguodala available, but we have no Poole, Draymond, Clay, Damian Lee, Wiseman, or Moses Moody. Highest ownership coming into this game is Wiggins, 27% on FanDuel at 5,800. We've got like 10 guys that are all 10% owned on DraftKings. What do you want the most from Golden State?
So, I mean, Curry, obviously, if you can get there, looks good, but more of a luxury than anything on this slate. I'm interested in Kevon Looney. 3,700. He is only center eligible on DraftKings, so that sucks. But with Green out, you could certainly see Looney play more minutes, and he's not a bad fantasy producer. So I do have some interest there. Gary Payton at 5K looks fine. Toscano Anderson, Bjelica at sub 4K both look fine as well.
What do you think they're doing here from a minutes perspective from the center spot? You got Jokic on the opposite side. Looney's going to play, I don't know, call it 24. Maybe you're hoping for a little bit more, up to 28, something like that.
I think
playing when who's playing when Jokic isn't on the floor?
Bjelica.
Okay.
I would think that you get like 28 from Looney and 20 from Bjelica or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think
for what it's worth, against the Suns last game, Green essentially played no center.
Yeah, I think Bjelica was cooking in that one, if I remember correctly. That's the Christmas Day game, right?
Yeah, but he didn't do much. He had 10 points.
I know Otto Porter went crazy at the end of that game.
Yeah.
I felt like Bjelica was just playing really well.
Yeah, I mean,
I drank a lot on Christmas. I don't really remember, man.
He may have been playing well. From a stat standpoint, he wasn't really doing anything.
Okay.
But you basically just got it was a different rotation than normal. Again, they were really shorthanded that game. They're not as shorthanded now that they have Wiggins back, but then Green is out. So I think it's just pretty likely that you get close to a split from Looney and Bjelica. I mean, Toscano Anderson could mess with that, but I think there's minutes available for him anyway. Same for Kuminga. So I think there's a pretty good chance that you get like 28-20 from Looney and Bjelica.
Yeah, I just find it hard to, like on DraftKings, to prioritize, like ignoring Curry. I think everybody looks pretty similar relative to salary, and you're just kind of hoping you get that correct guess of minutes, not necessarily output.
Yeah.
Closing it out with a real gem of a basketball game, the Oklahoma City Thunder 6-point dogs in Sacramento. For Oklahoma City, no Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Darius Baisley, Trey Mann, or Poku. They've signed Xavier Simpson, Olivier Sarr, Rob Edwards, and Scotty Hobson. So they're adding Scotty Hobson's the only one I know.
Sarr, I'm almost positive, played for Kentucky.
Okay. Well, congrats, Thunder. You added 4 more randos to a team of randos. Aaron Wiggins is in. Shea, 9,200 on FanDuel, 9,500 on DraftKings. He is fine to me. Dort is fine to me. Giddey is fine to me. If he's 29% owned on FanDuel at 6,400, I'll go a different direction. I don't really think that I can get to anything else for Oklahoma City right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I see it as well. I was busy Googling to make sure that Sarr had actually played for Kentucky, and he did. Learned that in my 1 month of college basketball DFS last year. But yeah, not a ton that stands out here. SGA is expensive. It's a really good matchup, so I don't mind getting to these guys as long as they're going to be low owned. But SGA is expensive. Giddey's expensive. Aaron Wiggins at 3,400 looks fine if he's going to start. Kenrich Williams at 3,700 is reasonable, but it's still a team that has a lot of bodies, and most of them suck at scoring fantasy points.
Yeah, I wish that I could say more here. I don't see it. Then we close it out with Sacramento.
Wiggins did play 32 minutes last game as a starter, so reasonable to expect that again.
I don't know about reasonable when it comes to Oklahoma City, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think reasonable is the right word. I didn't say likely. Just
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Sacramento, no Davion Mitchell. Alex Len is questionable. I don't know if that matters. I don't know what to do with the Sacramento minutes we saw in the last game, but I assume they're just going to get back to normal. So Tyrese Halliburton, 8,200 on FanDuel. De'Aaron Fox, 7,800 on FanDuel. Harrison Barnes, 6,200 on FanDuel. They're all getting more than 10% ownership. No one is getting more than 6.5 on DraftKings. I don't know what to make of Rashawn Holmes' current status and his minutes, but $5,600 Holmes could be really good in this spot. What do you want to do with the Kings before we get out of here?
I'm actually really interested in them on DraftKings at their salaries and ownership. De'Aaron Fox, the highest owned guy, 6.5%. $8,000 facing Oklahoma City. Played about 30 minutes last game. That game was pretty non-competitive down the stretch. They had said coming into the game that Fox was not on a minutes limit. They got him his 30 minutes. I think it's likely that you see more than that here, assuming this game's competitive. You know, he hasn't been great this year, but 8K against OKC looks pretty nice. Halliburton at 8,900 seems insane with De'Aaron Fox back. Tough to get to Barnes at 7,100. Holmes, though, at 5,600, like you said, I think looks pretty appealing. Only played 13 minutes last game, but was really dealing with foul issues. Picked up 3 fouls in the second quarter, so lost the final 6 minutes of the second quarter. Picked up another foul 2 minutes and 18 seconds into the third, went back to the bench, came back in to start the fourth, picked up another foul in 2 minutes and 43 seconds, went back to the bench. So you can't really read anything into that. I think it's likely that you're getting, upper 20s from Holmes here at 5,600.
Anything else you want to touch on from Sacramento?
Nope.
David Porter says, I always loved the Kings. What's up with Bagley? Mostly that he sucks and they don't want to play him because he makes the team worse. It's basically the gist of it. Yeah, I think that does it. Obviously, I'm expecting, 5 to 10 more guys to get ruled out for COVID and 5 to 10 more guys to potentially be ruled in from COVID. So make sure you're following at Awesemo NBA for any and all updates that we get throughout the day. Adam, you're going to have injury report video and GPP play videos coming up in the early afternoon?
Yep.
All righty. And then you're back for the deeper dive at 5 p.m., correct?
Yep.
Make sure you're watching all that stuff and make sure you're watching live before lock. That information is vital during this tumultuous COVID times. Good luck tonight, everybody. Win a little bit of money. You know where we're going to be. Right back here again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. That would be the NBA Strategy Show. Thank you to No House Advantage for being the presenting sponsor.